Please do not approach the degenerate. Please stay behind the line at all times. Please do not approach the degenerate. Please stay behind the line at all times. Please do not approach the degenerate. Please stay behind the line at all times. Please do not approach the degenerate. Please stay behind the line at all times.
I should say, I really should say, first of all, I'm not dangerous. I'm not a threat. I thought it'd be good to say that first, get it out of the way, off my chest, you know? I am a degenerate, okay, whatever, but I'm not dangerous. I am no threat to you all. Not as I am now. I won't bite. You can see that actually, if you look to my recent record, if they let you see it. I got lucky there, you see. Often they can be a little less, People like me often get unkindly or ungenerously so under the circumstances, stamped or branded with the dangerous or threat to whatever label, and that does not. Believe me, it doesn't look good on your record. You don't want them to, you know. The dangerous ones are, well, dangerous. And so, they, of course, are given a different treatment, a stricter treatment, in a necessary way. I would hate to be thought of as dangerous. Which is not to say, of course, that I'm not dangerous. In a certain sense. Of course, why else would I be here? But I am not, capital D, dangerous. I present no present danger to you all. Sorry, so, to explain. I am here in this institution because my being here makes the world outside a safer place, a less dangerous place, which must therefore imply that I am of some kind of danger to it. But I am not of the caliber or degree of dangerousness which would require the institutional label of capital D dangerous, which is reserved for people of a different status and a different treatment for all our safety's sake. And I'm very thankful for this. I would hate to be thought of as dangerous. And besides, a truly capital D dangerous person wouldn't have the wonderful opportunity to speak to all of you here today. I don't know where to begin. How to, even. I cannot tell you my name. Not to protect my identity, of course, it's far too late for me, but to make sure that no connection can be drawn to family, friends, acquaintances, past work colleagues, which might damage or endanger them. Taint them by association. And as for my first name, I wouldn't want to tarnish it for any of the good and innocent people who happen to share it with me. Who would want to be named after a monster like me? No one ever really calls me by my first name here anymore. Anyway, even if they do happen to know it, I only ever get called D words. So, aside from my identity number, it practically is my name and much less of a mouthful. You can call me D. Well, of course you can't actually call me D. It's not really a two-way thing, but you can think of me as D. My current label is Degenerate. If it wasn't immediately obvious, capital D, Degenerate. It was formerly Deviant, capital D, Deviant, and I do still occasionally get called that, but my new official status is capital D, Degenerate. The word deviant, just going back, is a word which I don't think they use anymore to describe anyone, myself or anyone else. It's old-fashioned, past its prime as a label, needed changing. And obviously, of course, they didn't bother to check or consult me. They didn't even bother to tell me what the new... Of course, but... I've been informed now that they've changed it. Which is fine. It doesn't bother me. Deviant, I think, was a little bit too sexy under the circumstances. A little bit too appealing, exciting, in a taboo sort of way. Deviant is like devilish, devout, devour, different, defile, devious, deviled eggs. And defiant, it's like defiant, deviant, defiant, they're practically the same word, practically the same meaning. They couldn't have people making the connection. Whereas, degenerate is like degrading, disgusting, deglamorizing. Out of degeneracy and deviancy, I can tell you which is more appealing to me. Degenerate. Degenerate. It's to unmake us, the unmade ones. It's really much more fitting, isn't it? They really are very clever. That isn't actually the etymology of the word. I looked it up in the dictionary as soon as I've been informed of my change of title. It comes from the Latin de, meaning out of or away from, and genus, meaning kind, race, kin. Out of one's kind, away from one's race. Really is much more fitting. Anyway, I am as I am. Not like any of you. I've fallen from that. I'm not really sure what the point of all this is, because there's so much that I can't tell you. I've been given strict instructions of what I am and am not permitted to say. Hence, I cannot tell you my name. Hence, I cannot tell you my crime, or even if there was a crime, I cannot tell you the where, or the when, the why, or the how, which just leaves the who. The who am I? Oh. It does beg the question, once you take everything else out of the equation, who am I? Not who am I to me, that doesn't matter, not anymore. But to you. Who am I to you? I am hideous. I know that. I am a monster. I admit it. And if not directly dangerous, then a dangerous potential, an influence, and under the right or wrong circumstances, kind of dangerous. Like a fuse. like a time bomb, a handgun waiting to go off. I am the kind of repulsiveness that words just fail. Nothing can do justice to what I am. What I am is fundamentally wrong. I am a mistake, incorrect, a blot on humanity, by sheer kindness left unerased, uneradicated. I am that rare kind of innate and absolute evil. Yes! Me! You see, most people, so they say, also the thinking goes, are not bad in and of themselves, but are just victims of circumstance. People steal because they have nothing. People hurt others because they were themselves hurt. People are cruel because they were taught to be cruel. But someone's goodness or badness is just a matter of luck. Badness is a cycle. It repeats itself. It begets itself. And it can be broken. So the individual is never solely to blame for their wrongdoing. But there must be an exception. An originator, an origin. An evil with no begetter. That's what I am. An original and inexplicable evil. A true degenerate, I. I cannot tell you about my childhood, my upbringing, my education, or my supposed turn to the bad. Both because, as I've said, I'm not permitted to, and also because it's not necessary. As has been made extremely clear to me, none of what has happened to me can be used to excuse what I did or who I am. I don't want you to think I'm a sympathetic figure. I am not to be pitied. I am not to be empathized or identified with. I am nothing like any of you. None of you know. None of you could ever know. Some of you are maybe thinking that you do know, that you are in some way a little bit like me, but I hope for your sake you're wrong. How would I know? You think to yourself, how would I know if I'm not just a monster like you or another victim of circumstance? Well, put it this way. Isn't there something wrong with you? Not something big. Not something obvious. Yes, you. But something very, very wrong. Something deep down, where most people, other people, can't see it, can't know it's there. The innermost darkness hidden behind everything you do, an instinct barely repressed. Something that horrifies even you, something that could never come to light, something which compels you to evil, which makes you evil. Which, if given even the littlest space to breathe, would make you do the most hideous and repulsive crimes imaginable. Maybe you've kept it a good secret up until now. Well done, you. But if they were to find out, if they could ever find out, they would treat you just like this. Just like me. Oh God, oh God, oh God. Excuse me. Hello? Yes. Yes, I'm sorry. Yes. No, I didn't mean to. Yes, I promise, it will not happen again. Yes, I understand. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Ah. I am very, very sorry about that. The rules are very, very strict, and sometimes I fail to follow them properly. I am deeply, deeply sorry. I stepped over the line. Another line I cannot cross. Just like this. That was them on the phone, by the way. But I suppose you're now wondering, who is this mysterious they that I keep referring to? Well, they're the ones who run this place. My keepers. My protectors. It's their job as an extension of the state to keep its citizens safe. And by extension, keep them safe from people like me. Out of harm's way. So, I am kept here. As far away as it is humanly possible to be from everyone else. Well, of course, only distant in a certain sense, not in a geographical sense. Of course, you're right here, but distant in a different, distinct sort of way. Separate maybe might be the right word. And I should say, I am extremely thankful for this arrangement. As I said, I have no intent to hurt anyone. As I've said, I'm not dangerous, and I know that by being here, it reduces the possibility of that happening and the possibility that preemptive action may be taken against me if I was let out into the real world. This is what's best for me. Believe me. I suppose you're wondering why I keep speaking in this strange manner. I suppose that's a result of having been alone all this time. I don't really have anyone to talk to except for them, but they're not very good conversationalists. At least not with me, anyway. So I resort to talking to myself, with myself. I'm doing it right now. And so I develop my own speech patterns, my own special dialect, unique and bizarre. Too much time, not enough conversation. I can't remember the last time I had a conversation with someone else. No one ever replies. Or maybe they just don't understand me anymore. I'm sorry, it must be so confusing for you, me speaking in all of these abstract terms. I promise I will try to speak as clearly as I can without getting me into trouble with them. They said that perhaps a chronological approach might be easier to follow. So from the start. I had a more or less normal upbringing. A caring family, 2 loving parents, sufficient nutrition for growth, an adequate amount of socialising along the usual time frame, a generic education, generic state education, more or less. I suppose like most kids, I disliked school, but I performed well enough when it was asked of me. I was interested in most of the current trends of the time, like most of my peers, in films and music and games that they would care about. I'm sorry. I must sound so unhinged. Most psychologists or others, they try to, when they try to dial in so why I am the way I am, they try to pinpoint a certain moment that set me down this path. Trauma, or whatever you call it, but there's nothing. I had no reason to be different, and yet I was. In a state as diverse and as accepting as this one, I should have had no problem fitting in. So they therefore came to the conclusion that the fault must have been innate, without any beginning or end. Ah, sorry, I keep getting ahead of myself. Stupid. So, from the start, I always felt different, separate, like I didn't fit in, but not for any obvious reason. This was at that time when you go from being a child to becoming a person, when you take your interests with greater certainty and you choose a group who you want to share them with. But I got left out. I was left alone. Not because anyone had the disgust for me that they do now, of course, but they just didn't have the interest in who I might be. I hadn't found my people yet, and I wouldn't for some time. And my parents, loving though they were, they said, "Oh, just be patient, and you'll find your place." Well, look where I am now. Always living on the periphery of life. Sufficiently functioning so as not to worry, but nothing to actually call a life. Friends, but no best friends. Invitations as part of a group, but never as an individual. Polite inclusion, but never true acceptance. I was alone and adrift. Truly alone. But then, like many other people in our age, the internet was my saviour and my rescuer, or rather, my destroyer and my serpent. But it was there that I found my people. And all of a sudden, everything was so clear. I knew my place. And I knew not only that I had a place on this earth, but a destiny in life. There was a path that unfurled before me, and I was welcomed onto it. I was happy. I'm sorry, but I was well and truly happy. But then, when I told my parents, all they could tell me was how disappointed and how upset they were. They cried, and they hyperventilated, and they burbled through their panic, and they flipped and flopped through wanting to chuck me out and insisting that it was just a phase and this nightmare would all be over soon. I brought it into their home through the internet, but they would say, "Why have you done this to us? Us! And I was just thinking about how something that to me could seem so right could to them seem so wrong, but that only made the weeping and the wailing worse. They screamed and they clawed at me. So in the end, I said I was sorry and that I would stop. And I pretended that I would never go back to that place. But they knew. as long as this dark thing had been hidden. It was growing and growing with every moment I spent with these people, my people. We started meeting in person, hanging out together, talking about everything and nothing, all the little things that no one else had ever cared about. I had friends, real friends, friends of my own. So when at last they shut me out, when their disgust grew too great, I didn't care. I moved in with one of my new friends, my new family, and I was happier than ever before. Happier than I'd ever been at home. That was the last I spoke to my parents. Or any of my family, for that matter. Not that any of us have ever tried. I haven't even seen them since the trial, and then only for a glance. I tried to avoid them, you see, but I was being moved and they flashed in front of me. They looked just like the day I left them. Tears streaming down their faces, eyes red and wide, horrified, terrified at the monster they'd created. They're still alive, I think. Maybe even still together. I don't even know if they're actually allowed to visit me here, but even if they could, I'm sure they wouldn't. Who would want to visit me here? Why would anyone want to visit me here? Not after what I did to them. But I've hardly ever thought about them since. Just the memory of them, it slipped away from my mind. The moment I left their house, the moment I left their lives, and started a new one. A life all of my own. I was busy too at the time. With them out of the way, I could spend more time with my people, and our conversations and our ideas went from being just that, ideas, into something real. We wanted to do things, needed to do something, and we convinced each other. The world needed to conform to us. We needed to make it conform to us. So we had to take matters into our own hands. Everything made so much sense back then. And we didn't even think about the consequences, just about what we wanted to achieve. They consumed us, our plans. We earned and we worked only to fund what we wanted to do. We rallied and we campaigned, we protested and we petitioned. We spread our ideas around the world. We built up traction. And most people said we were disgusting, scum, filth. But some were listening. People were starting to listen. We received threats, sanctions, this time not just from other people, but from official bodies of the state, telling us in no uncertain terms that we must stop immediately, now and forever. But we didn't. We didn't care. We knew with so much certainty that we were right. We thought, I should say. We thought we were right. But then we just kept going. We gave back threats of our own. We started shouting louder and louder, getting stronger and stronger, closer and closer to action, and everything was nearly in place to happen, and then we just used up the last of the state's goodwill And they took us in. For everyone's safety. And here I am. And that's it. We were stupid, irresponsible, childish, idiotic, psychotic, self-centered degenerates. There is no hope for any of us. It was the keeping going that confused people the most. How, after all of the threats and the sanctions, how after even the first of us were taken in, we just kept going. Why? No, really, why? Stupid? Yeah, but more. Sick. Insane? It doesn't cover it. The lengths we were prepared to go to. The procedures we discussed. Beyond the pale. No. So have you worked it out yet? What could motivate anyone to do something like that? Love. Of course. It's love. We loved each other. All of us. The only people we could ever make sense to. The only people who could help us make sense to ourselves. I fell in love. If that's the right word. If using that word doesn't taint it too for everyone else forever and forever. We were in love. And I know, even though I don't know where any of them are, I know with absolute certainty that they all feel the same. They love me and I love them. Do you know what it's like? Not knowing if the only people you care about on this world are even alive? No, you fucking don't! We'd never even done anything, but I wish we fucking had, because then at least... Oh God, oh God, oh God! Hello? Yes, yeah, no, sorry, I'm so sorry, please, no. Yes. No, please, you don't understand. I understand. I promise. It won't happen again. Yes, thank you, I understand. Thank you. Oh. I'm sorry. I have been very, very bad today. It's past, I promise. I get like this sometimes. The memories. I need to calm down. For my own safety. That's all I can tell you about my life. More even. Another line crossed. They asked me to be honest with you today. And I have been completely, but sometimes we can be honest in different ways. Better ways. And whilst in this state we do enjoy a total freedom of speech, there are some necessary exceptions. Like me. Just like you can't shout fire in a crowded room, letting me speak freely would be a danger to the public. You cannot entertain the idea that I am right. My ideas are too volatile. If I was to speak about them openly, freely, only for a moment, there may be a seed planted in you, just as it was planted in me, and lead you down the awful life I led. The wrongness within me. I would hate for that to happen to any of you. I wouldn't wish that on my worst enemy. So, I am here not as an exception to freedom of speech, but really to defend it. Really. I really don't know what to say anymore. My past is gone. I have no future to speak of. I corrupt everything. There is a darkness within me that seeps into everything I touch. If I was to tell you what I had for breakfast, for example, it would turn you against it. It would pollute it for you. If I told you I had an apple, I can sense your stomach turning at the idea of ever eating one again. If I told you I ate porridge, the porridge you yourself ate this morning would start to curdle inside of you. Imagine eating the same things as someone like me. Yuck! Anything that can connect me and any of you must be avoided at all costs. For your sakes, I am not like any of you. I repeat, a monster. I'm repeating myself. They told me to speak about my life here, since it's the only other thing I don't share. It's the only thing I don't share with the outside world. But there isn't really much to say. This is my life. I have a bed. I don't have a wardrobe, since I don't have any clothes to put in it. And I don't have a desk, as I don't have anything to do with it. The bed serves pretty well as a chair. There's normally toilet facilities in here, but they've been removed temporarily for the duration of this talk. It's not like I need any help in disgusting people. The thing about this prison, this place, I should say, is that there's nothing between us. Thin air. But please, don't worry. You're perfectly safe. I am heavily monitored. There has not been a solitary second since I've been here where I have not been on camera. Not that that's really a novelty, though, is it? There's not many places you can go out in the outside world and there not be a camera on you, are there? No need to fear, of course. Unless you've done something wrong. But this line, this boundary, is more than sufficient to keep me inside. I would never even dream of crossing it. I am sometimes permitted to cross it for medical examinations. And on some days, I'm even given accompanied walks around the facility. If I'm good, I get to even go outside if the weather's agreeable. There's occasionally this discussion group, a support group where they get together a group of us, and they get us to talk about our regrets and how we're getting on and leaving our past behind us. But no one ever really wants to talk about that. But it's all we're permitted to discuss, so there's not much talking. It doesn't really help. Not in the slightest, but it's nice to see some friendly faces. Friendlier faces, anyway, than the officials and the guards that work here. Must be hard work for them. Day in, day out, having to be near people like me, keeping us in check. You can see it in the weight of the lines of their faces. Heavy and brooding expressions. Dark eyes. But apart from that, I'm in here. I eat here, I sleep here, I go to the toilet here. It's about it. I do sometimes get a book for a day or two. They let us read the driest of factual books and a very limited range of fiction. Sedate stuff, relaxing, not very exciting. I don't want to mention any of them here. I don't want to discredit any writer's career. But I get to read a little. It helps the hours go by. I often take out the dictionary, since no one else does. Yes, and I read it cover to cover, soaking up every word, every little bit of information. It's actually really soothing. And I'm sure you'll agree, it's one of the most harmless books in existence, so that I can never get in trouble for reading it. Maybe that's why I've started speaking so funny. They used to run classes for us. Craft things like art and cooking and sewing. I used to get to embroider my uniform, make it unique and distinguishable. It was wonderful, but then, perhaps predictably, there were a few unfortunate accidents and a few questionable design choices on my part. And they decided that it was too stimulating for people of our kind, and that we were better left to our own devices. That was hard to take. After that, I started collecting anything I could. Things from meals, mostly. Boxes, cartons, stickers of fruit, and I would put them all together and make something. Rubbish, obviously, but it was something. Baubles, I would call them. I would line them all along the bed. They were the only thing of any colour in this room once my uniform was changed. Baubles. It reminds me of holidays and celebrations. Not, of course, that there's any of that here. There's too many of us. They can't be expected to cater to all of that. They took those away too, eventually. Crushed it all together and threw it away with the trash. I got the message after that. What else is there? There's a clock up there. Helps me count away the hours and the minutes. Tick, tock, tick, tock. It's only so useful without a calendar. Believe me, I've more than lost track of what day of the week it is. Or month, or year. I used to be able to tell by this window. Just a small, barred little thing, but enough to tell the time of the day, the weather, the season. I used to sit for hours and just stare out, and just beyond the bars, you can make out the branches of a tree, an oak, against the sky. I used to watch the leaves ripen and grow, and then turn red and orange and fall away. I would wait through all of winter, keeping an eye on the dead and quivering branches, so I would know as soon as spring had started. And all the whilst looking at the canopy of the sky, ever fluctuating in colour, constantly contrasting tones. It was beautiful. But then they took away my window. Said it was to stop other people looking in, but I know that's not true. I know it was to stop me looking out into the world and just thinking. So now I have nothing to look at, to think about. There aren't even any walls to stare at. It's hard to think with all this silence. I can only think about how quiet it is. It's deafening in its own way. It's not normal, nothing happening, the world feeling so empty. The world is meant to be a busy, busy place. It shouldn't be like this. I could be in the middle of the ocean, or at the bottom of one. Anywhere. In my own private tomb. My coffin. I get terrible earworms. Songs that go round and round my head trying to fill the silence. Little snippets of sound that go round and round in my head, squashing out all other information under its mental noise. Some I remember well, and some I just forget. But The best way, they say, to get rid of an earworm is to listen to it, to hear the song and let it play to its end, and then you can forget about it. But of course, I can't do that, so round and round they go. There's this one song in particular that comes up almost every day, the same little loop going over the same old ground. It's very beautiful. I just wish I could remember the whole thing. Because the thing is with this place, all of this, and all of this, is that each day feels more or less the same. I don't know how long I'm going to be here. Till my death, obviously, but I don't know how long that'll be. How many more days, each as silent and empty as the last. What I have here, effectively, is the opposite of the death penalty. The undeath penalty, the living penalty, manner of death to be determined at a later date. I suppose it's just a matter of time. A waiting game. I just don't know I don't know what they're waiting for. I wish I could remember the rest of that song. I feel like that about a lot of things, actually. A lot of things out there. I wish I could have just one more chance. Just to have it. And then I could let it go. Just one more taste to really hold and remember. But I suppose we can't really expect that here. Can't take that for granted. None of us could. Not after this. I don't really have anything left to say. Which is not that I mean to sound ungrateful. I am extremely, extremely grateful to have spoken to all of you here today. I am a monster, and wrongly I pushed my monstrosity onto others. And then I was taken and rightly put here for all our safety's sake. So here I am, and here I will be, anytime you care to check, until my death. And that's all there is to say. Take from that what you will. Oh God, the silence. What I do, since I can't listen to these songs to get them out of my head, is to dance. I let them pound away in my head. I move to them. I live them. Let them fill the world around me so I can pretend just for a moment that the world around me is still full of noise, still full of life. Imagine it. People everywhere, people you know, people you love, dancing around you, all moving to the same tune, the same note, the same words that you all know, back to front. The world spins around you, turns around the point, and nothing else matters, because you're all in sync, connected to everything around you. And you probably look like a complete idiot, but you don't care. Because you look around and you see that the world is a happy place, a beautiful place, and that you are an important part of it. You. I must have stepped over the line. You probably saw that. I didn't mean to. It was an honest accident. It was just a mistake. I didn't even do anything, or at least I thought I didn't. I used to be a person. When people ask me, who are you? There was something I could say in response. But I've tried today, and there's nothing left of me. You could have grown up on the same street as me, gone to the same school as me. You could practically be my sibling and you wouldn't recognise me. Not like this. I'm lifeless. Not defiled, but de-lifed. God, I'm awful. I suppose I should be grateful. So thankful. Kept alive by such mercy. I suppose somewhere there was a choice. A choice where I went from being this person into this degenerate. I don't know when. But somewhere, somewhen, there was something that changed in me, and set me down this awful path. Am I really to blame? Or am I not just another victim of circumstance? You see, when people talk about my ideas, our ideas, they say that they were both this frightening new thing, and yet something incredibly old. Ancient, even. How can they be both? Am I really to blame? if I was made like this? None of us asked for this, none of us did. And yet, because of what we planned and who we are, we lost everything. I lost everything. And now, I don't even have control over the simplest part of my life. Over what food I eat, over what clothes I wear, over who I get to talk to. And when at last I do get a reprieve from the tedious monotony, it's to be trotted out like a performing monkey for your well-to-do pleasure, all as part of some bullshit test. Do I know why? No, I don't know why. They never bothered to tell me. They never tell me what they wanted me to say. Only what I couldn't say, which is pretty much everything. I have nothing to give you people. Nothing. Not even my life. Not even my life. They could have killed me at any point now. Right here. Right now. They could just pop me off and I would be gone. And no one would know. And no one would care. And no one would even mourn. And the world would be a better place. A much better place. So come on then, why haven't you done it? Just do it. Just do it. I've had enough. I fucking deserve it. You've made your point. You've made your point. Just do it. Just do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. Don't do it. That's it. That's it. Listen, Hello? I need to go. All of it? Everything? Yes, of course I understand. I need to go now. All of it, everything. You understand? This is a happy ending. This is happy. It's happy. I'm happy. I promise you. I promise. I'm going to a better place, a much nicer place, somewhere which is kinder and safer. I'm going to be so much happier. You don't need to worry about me. I don't want you to think I'm a sympathetic figure. And before I go, I should say, I really should say that I